What's Jam Zone about? What's the zone?
So yeah, the zone's been around. Say it was established 11 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, for those that don't know, my name is Jermaine. Yeah, Jam Zone it's developed and it's evolved over the years. Like I said, it established in 2009. So it's been going on for a number of years. But where we're at now, it's a very exciting time, if I'm honest. It's a very exciting time. What we're transitioning into, what's coming. But Jam Zone, in a nutshell, it's a place where we empower, we enrich, we embody your overall well-being. So we don't just focus on your fitness, we don't just focus on your nutrition, it's your health, it's your lifestyle, it's your performance, it's your development. So through those 6 Jam Zone pillars, as we call them, if you yourself come in, it might just be fitness, but how does that relate to everything else? Especially through the times that we're going through. There's a lot of mentoring and coaching involved. There's a lot of self-evaluation. There's a lot of help and assistance and support with your mental health, with your spiritual health, your emotional health, your general health. So we don't cut any corners. And that's basically the foundations of it all. And as we'll continue to talk, but yeah, the foundations and the core of it all, that's what we do. We're here to empower on all ends of the scale.
So I think, like you mentioned, like some key points there in terms of why and what you do. And do you think those things that you set out to do support? I know it supports, like well-being. Do you think it supports like mental health as well around some of the activities that you offer and do?
Yeah, 1,000%. That is at the core of it. I think, like I said, it's been around for a number of years. The fitness industry itself has drastically changed. It's constantly changing. And through my experiences and personal experiences, through Jam Zoners, who are classed as sort of clients, we call them Jam Zoners, through the number of people, probably hundreds of people that I've trained, you start to see that someone might come in and it might be, I want to lose weight, or the general stuff. But it's not until you get them in and you have the conversation and you sit down with people that you actually see that, okay, there has to be more reason behind this. There has to be a bigger purpose. So I think when you have that focus, it kind of ties in with everything. So your fitness will create new habits, new lasting habits, positive habits. It will change. It will not force you, but naturally you're going to want to sort of change lifestyle habits. So it gives you that balance and that discipline and that routine and that focus to perform at your optimal level. And that's at the ethos of it. So I think mental health plays a massive part. And over the years, exercise and mental health, we see it time and time again, how the two go hand in hand, how looking after yourself, your physical well-being translates to your mental well-being. So definitely, man.
It's important that, there's some of the stuff that you just mentioned there, the transition and how it helps. I don't like using the word or the term BAME or BAME, but for using it for the sake of the masses, etc. I can't speak for everyone, but like, for example, the South Asian community, the Muslim community in general, when speaking, and this is from personal experiences and mainly experiences and being associated with people through work, life, sports, etc. Take mental health as a bit of a taboo subject. Do you find that same with some of the people that you work with or you've grown up with or family or friends, whoever it may be? Do you think it's still seen as a taboo subject? And if so, why is it seen as a taboo subject?
I think we're definitely entering a time where it's becoming less. The conversations are starting to happen a bit more. I think that comes down to the generation that we're in. And if we talk about our generation now, I think we're a little bit more receptive to emotion and having that emotional intelligence. And when we talk about emotions, we're not just talking about people crying. We're not shutting people down like that. It's how do you deal with an experience? But definitely in the Caribbean community, it's still somewhat as a taboo. You still have the generic responses in that you'll be fine. Still the same terms get thrown around, sort of just get on with it, keep going, you'll be fine, suck it up. those type of things. And quite recently as well, I've been involved in a couple of conversations, two on Clubhouse, around, again, if we're talking about cultures and communities and how that has an impact on our upbringing and our mental health. These conversations were a lot were based around sort of gender roles, in terms of saying to a boy that you can't cry. And we all know that men's mental health is, they're a lot less open to having these conversations and opening up about it. So it's very interesting to see, okay, how can we in this generation sort of break these cycles as such within our households, and it comes through having conversations like these. It's an open space for us to talk, but it's for people to listen, to get involved. And I think it's a great thing. And the timing of it, like you said, is absolutely perfect. But I do think generations coming in now were coming away from the whole taboo of, if somebody says they're depressed or if someone feels a bit anxious, being able to word these things and cut these things into certain terms. I think, yeah, we're definitely moving away from it.
Very, very similar to the kind of South Asian community, specifically the kind of Muslim community I can comment on from the South Asian diaspora when speaking about mental health. It's usually the terms, it's a test from God, pray, if you pray, everything will be okay. And I'm not saying that's not the case. There is a lot of spirituality and remedies found within religion and spirituality that can help. I'm not here to talk and say yes or no regarding any of that. It's not my place. There are certain things I can't talk from a religious perspective, but that's something that's commonly heard and found when speaking to kind of South Asian Muslim diaspora, that it's probably something bad's probably happening to you because you're not praying enough, or you're not religious enough, or it's some sort of magic or black magic or evil eye, and then mental health is dismissed and don't talk about it. We shouldn't speak about it because if our neighbors hear about it or family friends hear about it, it's going to bring shame upon the family. And although I agree with you that it's changing and this generation is changing it, that still does exist within the conversations, unfortunately. And one of the things, after I spoke to you last time in Ramadan, actually, I started looking. I have knowledge about it from a religious context anyway, but I started looking a bit more deeply into it. With everything that was happening, there was a lockdown. We were in the middle of the lockdown. The Ramadan show ended. For me, that was that caused me a bit of anxiety, because I now had this routine of every Friday and Saturday I would be doing this thing, and it would give me a bit of personal satisfaction as well, and give me a bit of confidence speaking to different people, speaking to an audience. The satisfaction I was getting is seeing and watching others from the community, young people from the community, taking part in the activity, engaging with the audience, engaging with each other, taking part in online activities. And suddenly that's gone. That was causing me a bit of anxiety and stress. And I was starting to think, what can I do different? What can I do? How can I create something new? And, you go through various different things. And there was also a level of, tiredness, exhaustion from everything that had been, delivering and running. And you know about it because it was absolute lastminute.com. We looked back and we saw and observed what organizations and people are doing in the community, some amazing things. And in March, when the lockdown happened, and we said we're not going to jump into anything immediately. We said we'll take a back seat, have a look, observe, see where the gaps are, and see how we can support where others aren't. And it was all lastminute.com, and unfortunately, always like that. It always is like that, lastminute.com. But it turned out amazingly well. But moving back to that point on touching on the understanding and how people speak about mental health within these communities. You're right, it is changing, and I think sport and exercise plays a massive key within that. For me personally, and I can talk on behalf of a number of part of the players and participants that have been engaged in football. We've said it loads of times, like when we used to play Saturdays or Sundays or training, whatever. It was the only time you could come, and once you cross that line on a football pitch, everything else that you've got on your mind has gone, disappeared. And I guess that's very similar with exercise and keeping fit. Would you agree with that as well? Same kind of concept?
Exactly the same concept. Anything you can look at it in all walks of life. You can look at it from a sports perspective. You can look at it from a training perspective. You can look at it from just your day-to-day routine. There's a lot of our day that has sort of gone missing. Little things, people having to homeschool, kids having to school from home. I've had various conversations with the cadet club sessions that I do. We have talks every Wednesday, and there's always someone. We always say, "How was your week? How are you doing?" And there's words coming out like stress. I feel anxiety, and these are kids as young as 10 coming out with this. So this is having a massive bearing on us. And something that I keep saying, and we've spoke about, is we can't forget the youth. We can't take it as a given that they're happy, it's a holiday, it's fine, everything's kind of up and down, but they're losing out on the social aspect. And it's the same thing with the football. If that one time you play football in a week, like you said, you step on that pitch, you completely switch off. You can release what you need to release. So if we're all cramped up at home, same thing with training. If your training is released, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's training for a run or a cycle, whatever it might be, if that's your release and that's your sort of time for you, it's going to take toll on your mental. And the same goes for our young kids. And this is why the Link Up Youth Club that's been put together by yourself, by the whole team, is just, it's amazing, because these are the kids that we want to get involved with. But the same with adults, we need to stay active. So yeah, I completely agree.
And just going back on being able to talk about it and being confident to accept or being acceptance of the fact that a young person or someone in your family has a mental health issue, I think for me is really important. And again, when we spoke in May, excuse me, after that I did a bit of research and looked more into detail about it from an Islamic perspective, from a religious perspective. And the reason I keep bringing you back to it, because everything I kind of try to do, when looking for support mechanisms, I try to try to find answers within from a spiritual perspective. And one verse that really stood out for me. The whole chapter in itself is an amazing chapter about ways of giving you confidence and understanding of who we are as human specimen, so to speak. And there was one specific verse where now I kind of use very often with family members and friends when I talk regularly to them, and that's a verse in Surah Duha which says وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ, and the meaning behind it is it was God was talking to the Prophet Muhammad, and he was talking about the kind of issues that he was facing when he came with the prophethood, and people were against him, and some people were disowning him, his family members. And one of the verses, that the second to last verse from that chapter, is when Allah is saying to ordering us, like, if someone comes to you for help or asks for help or is in need of something, don't look down upon them, don't turn them away. If you can, and you can be of a support mechanism to them, be a support mechanism. Now, I'm not saying this verse is I'm not doing the exegesis of this verse by saying that this is your cure, like go and literally go and talk to people and then you'll be cured from everything. But I think time to talk, it just fits so perfectly well within it, in the sense of it's okay for you to feel how you feel, and you can find solace and you can find peace by sometimes talking to people. And that's a massive thing. That one person may not be a doctor or a therapist, but they may give you some words that would give you a bit of peace. And I think that's key right now for us to kind of understand and get that message about, like you said, about young people especially, where we as adults, working or not working, we feel that we've got this stress and pressure and anxiety on us that's affecting us. But it's probably affecting young people more than it's affecting anyone at the moment.
Yeah, massively.
But how would you say, what would you do in this situation as a young person? What advice would you give to someone, that is struggling? We were in a lockdown from March the 20th. I'll never forget it. And I keep saying this to people because March the 20th was my birthday. I was driving from Coventry on the A45 back to Birmingham. Had an idea we'd probably go into lockdown, but the news station, it was the Prime Minister on there saying it was March the 20th. It was saying from the 23rd of March, Monday the 23rd of March, the country's going into lockdown, etc., etc. We all thought it's going to be a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We'll be all right. You know, we were actually, a lot of us, loads of people were like buzzing, happy about it. Yes, we can work from home, we can chill out, go on holiday somewhere and work from a different country. Little did we know that it would go on till, you know, you went until July, until the lockdown was lifted. And then we started to rebuild our confidence. We started to rebuild our, our morale. We started getting active again. We started doing some positive things, meeting friends. You know, we felt a lot better. And then we went into that situation in November when we had another lockdown in November. And then that's continued in January as a hard lockdown now, like a national lockdown. So it's going to take its toll on all of us, adults and young people. But I think for me, it's kind of important that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone. Different people have different issues and different problems. Some people's problems are bigger than other people's problems, but that doesn't mean the problem isn't a problem. And I think it's important to speak about this, and speak about it, and also try to be proactive and trying to deal with it as well in various different ways. And I think we already touched upon it, but one of the kind of pointers when you look at mental health and you look at Islam, for example, and then you look at sport, one of the first things that you can take note from verses is about taking care of your health. There's a wisdom behind every verse that's revealed. There's a wisdom behind everything that we do and what God has ordered us to do. And it links in with everything that we're talking about now. Like today at work, we're doing some amazing piece of work. One of the colleagues, she's got some really simple things you can do on a day-to-day basis to keep yourself like feeling, give you a morale boost, keep you confident. And obviously one of them is the obvious one that we all talk about is taking care of your health, exercise, keeping fit, etc. And one that really stood out for me, and then I started to think about it, was take a shower, and then I was contemplating on that term for a second, and I was thinking, how do I feel when I've come out of a shower? You feel fresh, you feel refreshed, you feel good, you feel okay, you feel tired sometimes, depending what time of the day it is. If it's a morning shower, you're ready to go.
Exactly.
That's why some people, you're ready to go, you're ready to do work. And when it's at night time, you're ready to sleep, but you feel nice and fresh and comfortable. You think, I know it's such a simple thing, take a shower, but it has such value and such power behind it. Taking a shower, people watching this thinking, what is this guy's talking about? Taking a shower is going to cause my depression. Not saying that at all, but it's just talking about that sense of relief and that feeling it gives you. And then I started thinking a bit more deep into it, and then I started thinking, we're praying for, religiously we have to pray 5 times a day, etc. And before we pray, we have to have a mini shower, so to speak, like wash our face and hands and feet and hair, etc. And it makes you think, wow, like we're just like human beings. We don't need, initially, the reason behind it is obviously we cleanse ourselves because we're going to stand in front of the Lord. When you're standing in front of the Lord, you need to be clean and you need to be, you can't be being scruffy, etc. It's a kind of a respect thing. But then I started looking into a bit more this morning, and I was like, it's not just about cleaning yourself to look presentable in front of your Lord when you pray. It's actually about giving yourself that boost, that that energy, that sense of happiness and freshness. So there's a wisdom behind kind of everything.
Definitely.
And it just made me think, like, taking care of your health is in many different ways, because if you look into it deeply, when people are suffering from depression, anxiety, etc., there's self-neglect that takes place. Self-neglect is in terms of not washing themselves, not eating properly, not sleeping properly. And that can have a spiraling effect that will continue and continue.
Right. Habits, isn't it?
And that's it. And I think it's important, like especially in this time now, look, we can't play football, we can't go to the gyms. Not everyone is fortunate to be a PT, like you're a PT, and not everyone has that access. Some people are not confident enough to understand, what workouts to do, etc. What would you say have been like some of some of the methods that you've been using to kind of motivate some of your clients and your participants. That, like, I've seen you obviously when you were working with young people, etc., and you have this energy about you. And I know, Jam, I've seen you on days when I know you have no energy, as in you probably had a long day, and you come in and you're like, energy, let's go, and the kids are going and the young people are going. Like, how do you get that inner motivation? And how do you overcome yourself, your personal experience? I'm not saying it's a medical theory or anything, but what works for you, because different things work for different people. And I'll tell you what works for me.
Yeah. I think that's the very first thing, is that we're all different and different things work for different people. And in the same sentence, different things work for you at different times. So it's not, because in terms of myself, in terms of how sort of advise people, first of all, obviously you want to create a routine, you want to create a habit, because the first thing I sort of noticed last year when we went into lockdown is it's the broken routine, the need to not really do anything. And after, yes, we can all bask in that for like a week or so, but after quite a long time, when you lose a bit of sense of direction, you haven't really got a reason to get up and do anything. This is where you really have to like create these yourself. So if you're someone who's at home, like you said, something simple as going back to the whole shower thing, I think that the sooner we realize that it doesn't matter what it is, people might have listened to that and thought, yeah, shower, whatever. It's not, don't make the focus point be on the shower. Make the focus point be on how you feel. Mm. Whether that means that you wake up and you open your window and you yawn out the window, if that makes you feel good, then do that. Make that work for you, because it's the feeling that you want to get, and it's that feeling that we want to get. So creating your own habits, creating your own routine. For me personally, it's still giving myself that. My word of this year, my word of this month, or my word of the year is accountability. And accountability in myself. So I feel like for me, it's holding myself accountable that, okay, Jermaine, you can slip into bad habits, but let's really narrow it down, get back to your basics. Because me and my wife, we had a child in September. So that completely knocked any form of a routine that I thought I had, completely knocked out the window. And this isn't to say that she was a bad child. Like, alhamdulillah, she's a beautiful child. She sleeps well, everything, but you haven't got no sense of a routine. And there's probably times where I thought, I don't know where I'm going. I want to be up this time. It was really affecting my mood. And then to the point, I just had to just surrender to God, surrender that, you know what? The more I try and stress this, I was stressing because I'd wake up at 6 o'clock to feed her, which is probably about half an hour after that, I'd usually get up, but I'll drop back asleep. I wake up at 8 o'clock. I don't need to be out the house till about 9:30. But by me shortening the time that I have for my routine, because my general routine is the first hour of your day is your day. That will break your day. So the whole thing of getting up early, like, I get it, but again, I understand not everybody gets up early. So this doesn't apply to you getting up early. It just applies to what your day's like. Give yourself some leeway. And that's what I've had to get back to, because that first hour of your day is you. And again, I said it during the Ramadan show, and I keep saying it. If you can keep away from your phone, keep away from your phone. Have that time to come into your living room, make a cup of tea, do some stretches, in happy hormones, start releasing that good feeling. And you can get, my thing is that I want to get 3 wins in my day before I leave my house. So a win could be to have a cold shower. A win could be I'm going to get up at the first alarm, or I'm going to try and beat my alarm, whatever it is, and just let that bed in, let that become a routine, and just give yourself that time to just think and be, and then start your day. I think when we rush, and I was watching a live the other day, and he was talking about the morning rush. And the whole thing with the morning rush is we snooze our alarms, which is fine, but then you give yourself less time. So if you're rushing to get up and go into the shower, You're then rushing to make something to eat. You're then rushing to get to work. When you're driving now, you're rushing. Wherever you get to, you're already rushing. So that's already set precedent for your day because you've decided to sleep an extra hour and not allow yourself your time to slowly get up. I'm going to slowly brush my teeth. I'm going to slowly eat my toast rather than, oh, I need to go, I need to eat, I need to do this. Because then your day is going to continue the same way. So
but, you know, like, I think everything you said there is spot on. Like, I spoke to a number of friends, young people, etc., and they mentioned a number of things that you said there that they want to have that 1.5 hours. They want those 3 wins. They want that routine. They accept the accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But how do they turn that into, like, how do they implement that, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
How do you implement that? I mean, you must have a strong mindset, or do you have to have a strong mindset to implement that?
I think you have to have a strong mindset to a point. But even if you know you've tried or you're not disciplined, the second you can sit with yourself and say, and whether you write them down or you just talk out how you feel or what your thoughts are, you can say, you know what, sometimes I can be a bit lazy with that, or I'm not quite focused in that, or whatever it might be. I think the second you can be real and honest with yourself about that, that goes a long way to you changing the outcome. Because I think we all say, oh, I'm gonna start eating healthy, I'm gonna start doing this on such and such date. That happens, cycle comes back around, and you're back in the same position. I think it's not until you're honest with yourself and you kind of dissect, why have I not been able to do this? Why have I not been able to wake up earlier? Once you can start being real with yourself, okay, I'm going to bed. I keep going to bed at 2:00, which allows me 4 hours. Once you can start to narrow it down and be like, okay, maybe I need to try and get to bed at 12. Okay, why am I not able to go to sleep? Oh, because I'm still on my phone. I'm on YouTube till 12:00. Then you can start to actually get down to it. I think we try and make changes and try and make things happen without actually putting a plan in place. And I've said this before, in that we're not all bad at something. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm not disciplined enough when it comes to my health. That doesn't mean you're not disciplined. It just means you're not disciplined when it comes to your health. That means that you're not caring about yourself. You don't find yourself worthy enough, or you're in a cycle. You can be disciplined in other areas, but we're all good at something. We're all able to do things. We're not terrible people. So it's just about being truthful with yourself, getting down to the root of what's what, and allowing yourself to flex. If one of your things is to get up at 6:30 and train, if you get up at 6:30 and you're awake, but you don't train, that's not you failing. You've achieved something, because the purpose of it, first of all, is for you to get up at 6:30. If you get up at 6:30 and beat yourself up, oh, I didn't train, then you kind of know what's gonna come of it. But if you say to yourself, okay, at least I got up at 6:30, I'm creating a habit. Nobody creates a habit in 2 days. We've all spoke about it. It takes 21 days to form a habit, 28 days to sort of instill that.
That's brilliant. And I'm gonna, like, the show's called Time to Talk, so I might as well tell you, like, kind of what helps me and what my kind of coping mechanisms are. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously those who know me and know me well know, like, there's like 100 things going on at the same time, all the time, every day of the week. It's non-stop. And if I'm honest, I choose my life to be like this. And the reason I choose my life to be like this is I've experienced things when my father passed away in 2009, 2010, where I wasn't working because compassionate leave from work. A big thing happened. So you just stop and you think, and you have a lot of time on your hand, and you don't have a lot of friends around. You do, but you need your own time. And that was a period in my life where I really, really struggled, like genuinely struggled for years. So much so, I don't know if I've said this to many people, very close friends know it. I had to I used to sleep in the same room as my father, and I had to move out the bedroom, not because I was scared. It was just the loneliness that my dad wasn't there no more. And that was a tough period for me. And it was then I was working at the time. It was then when I was doing research around, coping mechanisms and don't be sad. What does Islam say? And following the usual, rhetoric of pray. The more you pray, and I'm reiterating. I'm not saying that praying doesn't support you, because it massively supported me. But I was looking for other holistic methods and other holistic ways of how I can cope. And I came across this hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. Then it was back then, and it's something that like took me back big time. Like, and the hadith was like, charity is due on every joint of your body for every day the sun rises. God is saying charity is due, as in we got to give thanks and charity from every limb, every joint, organ of our body, in the sense that we get to see the sunrise every single morning, and we get to wake up and sleep and eat and meet friends, etc., etc. And within the context of that, the exegesis of that was around help others to help yourself, because it gives you a sense of satisfaction. So I think it was that turning point in my life where I said, I need to be involved in something in life where I'm constantly trying to help others, whatever that may be, whether it's youth work, community work, whether that's through football, whether that's whatever it is. It's about, if I can help someone else, then I have this feeling of satisfaction and confidence, and I feel good about myself, and it takes me away from that feeling of loneliness or sadness that I had when my dad passed away, if that makes sense. And that for me is why some people, probably doctors and medical professionals probably say that's probably not the best way, but for me, that's been the best. Like, I'm in my element and I'm in my zone when there is pressure, when there is, and this is going to sound bad, when there is a young person that needs help, or when there is a friend that is in need of something, and I will go out my way to find something to do to support that person. That's what really drives me and kind of keeps me away from feeling sad and lonely or depressed. And yeah, even in between these things, you feel let down and you feel sad and you get upset. But I think that's one of my, like, the way for me is like kind of helping others helps me to stay away from anxiety, depression, sadness, and loneliness. And the second way, kind of coping mechanism for me, I'll be honest, it's the most ridiculous thing you'll ever probably hear, is because I said, like, life's so busy and you don't get a time, self-care is really important. And that's probably one of my weaknesses, self-care. I probably don't look after myself enough. I remember you messaged me a couple of months ago and you were saying, you'll be like, if you want some help, I'll help you out, like doing some workouts and whatever it is. And you're coming from the right place. And I'm like, bro, when I ain't even got the time to, do this. I've got other things going on. But it made me think, self-care is important as well. I need to look after myself. And should I tell you when I started realizing that, Jam?
Yeah.
Because life is so busy. I said this to Marge the other day. So, when I used to, now obviously we can't go to the barbers now because it's lockdown. But, I think it was August, September time or whatever it was. And I went to the barbers, and this was a regular theme for me. I just didn't realize that it was a regular thing that I was doing, a ritual, so to speak. Whenever I used to go to the barbers, I felt like that was the only time in my life that my phone wasn't in my hand. My glasses are off. Without my glasses, I can't see, so they're cutting my hair. So I can't even look around, watch the television on the screen, or look what's going on in the barber shop. There's no distractions. I'm basically blind because of my eyesight. I'm in the barber chair. I've got the apron on, and it's cutting my hair. And I use that time, honestly, for self-care. You believe it or not, this is strange, but I use that moment for self-care where I say, this is my time. This 15-20 minutes is my time. And I start thinking, what can I do to make myself better? What can I do to feel, more happy, or whatever, or what are my aims in life, or what am I doing? Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? And then the plan is, by the time the barber finishes doing the trim, I'm out there and I've got a plan in motion of what I'm going to do next. And that used to help me massively. Now, I'm not saying just because I had a haircut in a while, I hadn't had that, but it's true. I haven't thought about self-care in a very long time. Until recently, I started working out again, and I feel good about myself every night. I go, going to sleep after working out. I feel good. I wake up good, and it's a good feeling. So I just thought I'd share that as well, because it is cool time to talk. So I don't know, that might help someone. I don't know, I remember once I had to go to a different barber, and the guy was amazing, man. His skills were amazing, but the guy would not shut up. And like, it was nice. He's not saying anything bad. He was just chatting away, talking about life and all of these things. But I would never go back to him because my self-care is not there. But I thought I'd share that anyway because
that's a great point, and I think that just highlights that it's not size fits all. Wherever you can, because you can describe that as that's your quiet space, that's your space for you to just be present. Because I find this, and that was the one thing that I really had to work on last year, was being present. Because I'm like you, always doing something. There's so many different hats to have on, and you very rarely get a moment to sort of just stop and think. So that was like one of my things last year, of just giving myself 2 to 5 minutes at some point in the day. I'll just set a random alarm for each day of the week, and when that alarm goes off, if I'm doing something, then snooze, and I know I need to take that 2 minutes to just relax and just be. But having that place where you can go in a routine and you just switch off, because I wouldn't say I sit there and I sort of have thoughts, but that'll be my time. I'll chat to my barber for about first 5 minutes of my trim. After that, I'm more likely I'm going to knock out. I'm going to drop asleep because that's the time. And I don't nap. So that's the time for me to just quickly snooze. When he gets the blade out, that's when I know, okay, I need to wake up. I need to be awake. But like, I completely get it. And it just shows wherever you feel that time where you can just, there's no distractions. If you can create that wherever you want to create it. But like I said, at the minute, we haven't got places to go, but still create that space for people watching. Create that space where you go. Your phone doesn't need to be there. It could be your toilet. I said this to, who did I say this to? I think I said in the cadet session, if you're at home all day and you've got nowhere to go and your house is quite busy and in your house there's a lot going on. If your space is you go to the bathroom, locking the door, leaving your phone in the bathroom and just chilling, then that's your place you need to go. I think it's important that we identify these things and we kind of try and find a place where we can release and you can have these moments with yourself just to be present.
What about like away from the kind of alone side? How important is it, like the company you keep as well, to support and aid any issues that you may be going through?
I think we've heard it since we've been growing up. The friends that you keep yourself around. And when you really like growing up, you might have thought, yeah, whatever, and you still have your group of friends, and you might have some that are a little bit bad and some that are a little bit good or whatever. But then obviously as you get older, you really, really do see the pattern, and it stems from home, it stems from family, close friends. If you've got people who, yes, I'm not saying people don't care about you, but if their response or their energy is very sort of, it's negative, why is this happening to me? Why is that happening? Sort of pushing the blame. If that's the sort of environment and that's the sort of people that you're around, they're basically projecting that onto you. Whether you consciously or subconsciously take that in, you're going to absorb that. That's going to have an effect on you. And if you're mentally going through a rough patch yourself personally, you're not able to verbalize it, but if you're not able to express and verbalize yourself with people that you're around, then when you go through these stressful times, it's going to be really hard. And your form of expression is going to be something completely different, something that you might not expect, something that might surprise the people that you're around. But it's important that, especially now, and I say this on your social medias, have a social media detox, whether that's taking yourself off social media or just cutting it down. But then even detoxing your who you follow. Because if you're constantly seeing blog pages, you're constantly seeing news or whatever it might be, that always has an effect on you. If you're on your phones, we all get the report at the end of the week of your average phone time of 10 hours or whatever it is. That's a long time. You're absorbing a lot, and that's going to have an effect on you. So yeah, the company you keep on your phone, because that's where you're based a lot of the time. If you're in too many WhatsApp groups and it's just people just not really giving you any substance, not giving you anything, then yeah, man, just to start to either mute it or just take yourself away from it or just have a pause, have a break.
important what you said about having a detox change, your how you interact with social media, what you see, who you follow, and as one of the points that, again, taking it into a religious context again, there was a verse in the Quran when the angels were slightly confused of why God is creating mankind, because there was murmurs, there was conversations that humankind are going to cause problems on the earth, they're going to cause bloodshed and fight with each other and various different things. Why there's angels here? Why would you need to create mankind for that are going to cause problem? And then God replies by saying, I know the unseen. God seen to the angels. And then there's examples of human nature, how good humans are and how good humans can be, and the goodness in people's hearts. And the reason I mention that is in regards to like changing the mindset. Like you said, the detox. We see a lot of young people. We remember we had a talk recently about richness. You were talking to the young people about what's richness, what's rich, and then people were saying about Gucci and Versace and Armani and Pablo Escobar or this or that or whatever they were saying, and that's fine. That's because what's constantly visible in front of them all the time, without them thinking beyond that. And I think that's why it's so important about the detox that you mentioned, about what you do on social media, how you utilize social media. And it brings me to the next point here of going back to the initial point of being a taboo subject and time to talk, and why isn't it spoken about? And you said like some boys don't cry, etc. But let's take it to the real world. Like, you've got a 17-year-old lad on road, etc. It's locked down now. He can't see his boys. He can't do anything. The only thing he can do is go online. Okay, look, some people are still obviously breaking the rules and they're out and about, etc. But how does he or she, how do they speak out? We were saying, it's good to talk. Make sure you talk to people. Make sure you have a shower. Make sure you look after. We were saying all these positive things, which is wicked. It's the truth. It's not a lie. But let's take it to the real world. How does that young person or that person themselves? There's no football. Football's locked off. They can't go on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Wednesday, a power league or whatever, and cross that line and forget about everything. There's no lunchtime at school where they can just chill out at lunchtime. What do they do? What would you advise? Or can you understand why, or do you agree why it's a difficult subject for young people to talk about?
Yeah, definitely, because we've all been that young person where we feel nobody understands. I think we've also got to put ourselves in their shoes, where this is a time, especially at that age of sort of 16, 17, that you're now seeing yourself, what I want, what I don't, what I want to do. Very hard to listen about trust, which is about a lost generation, about 16 to 25-year-olds feeling like they can't aspire to anything because of the recent pandemic and what's been going on. So I think it's a very real subject, it's a very telling subject, and it's something we all need to be sort of aware of and open to. And there aren't these places that they can escape. So these kids are vulnerable and they are at risk. And my advice would be to them personally, because like I said, nobody is the same. It's not one size fits all. But how are you going to keep yourself engaged? Because I can look at it from myself, and over this past year, sort of coming more into sort of community work and doing community stuff, this is almost like a new field for me. So I've really had to immerse myself into, okay, what's the community, what's really going on. Started a mentoring qualification, done that. That's opened my eyes up to absolutely loads. So that's kept me. If I was just doing the same thing that I've been doing, I think after a while I would probably get a bit bored and I'd probably want to laze about or do whatever. But keeping yourself, challenge yourself, and it comes back to health. It comes back to your intellectual health. and learning something new. And I think especially with the kids that might be enrolled or doing whatever, and yes, they might have heard it before, but it's, okay, how can I channel this energy that I've got? How can I look at this from, how can I take a step out of my shoes, look at my environment, look at my weaknesses, look at my strengths, really look at myself and see what I've got around me, see what I can put my energy into. Because there's a generation now of entrepreneurs. There's a generation now of people who are becoming very much self-made. Whether that energy is being directed on the wrong path, which is going to be a lot of people out here who they're going to be directed onto that path, that's still energy, that's still skills. However you want to look at it, it's still a skill set that they've had to master. So it's just about how can we direct that energy into something? And it's not about us, it's about what they want to do. How do they want to direct that energy? What is the end goal? What do you see as your end goal? Because we need to go past that. Your end goal might be, I just want to make money. But yeah, we need to go past that. And it goes back to the conversation about what do you see as rich? Like, what is your purpose for life? What is your purpose? Yes, you want to earn money. Okay, what's the purpose behind that? Because that's not going to get you up every day. That's not going to keep you focused. That might get you leading astray. But when you have something, when you have that purpose or that drive that you need to get to, money just isn't a factor. Money is at the very much at the base. I've still got all these other layers that I want to get through.
Couldn't agree with you more, man, Jam. Like, obviously, we both work in the youth sector right now, and we're not doctors, and we can't give a thesis based on the last 10, 11 months of the pandemic. But I strongly feel from a youth working experience perspective that there's going to be a huge amount of damage caused to young people's mental health and well-being of what they've gone through over the last 11, 12, 9, 10, 11 months in the future. And I think that I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's going to be massive issues moving forward. Whether that's small things such as the group that got predicted grades last year for GCSEs and college grades, the group that are not going to do exams this year. It's like the situation is kind of set up for them to fail, if that makes sense. How does one get a good job or you know, get a good qualification or you know, support themselves growing up as an adult? It leaves this situation leaves them in a very vulnerable position. Not just young people, obviously everyone, adults are losing jobs, don't have work, don't have employment, have lost everything, have lost family members, have, you know, passed away, etc. But the next generation, the youth that will grow up, this will have adverse effects on them. I feel that, I can feel that, you know, immediately working in this sector. And for me, I think it's important that, you know, these conversations that we're having, me and you, like, we're just, you know, like, we're, you know, local people in the community. I think these conversations need to become normalized and open and accessible to the needs of young people, not for the sake of, let's just do it for the sake of doing a chat. And because it's not normalized and it's not normal, we choose these dates and we say, we'll do it on this day and we'll do it on that day. And it's great to raise awareness on those days, but it should be normalized every day. Young people are growing up watching, you know, adults and young people are watching whatever they see on the television, movies, you know, series, things that influence them in a wrong way. Positive things need to be, in my opinion, need to be showcased and evidenced and be put out there on a regular basis for, you know, they're saying you I can't remember the saying exact words, but what you don't see is what you don't be. Like, if you see something more often, you aspire to be that thing or person or whoever. And I just don't think these conversations are normalized. Everyone says yes. This generation are opening up a bit more, talking about it. But I still don't think it's normalized. It should be open for anyone to talk about without feeling like you know you've done something wrong if you speak about it, or you're showing weakness if you speak about it.
Yeah, definitely. And going off the whole the weakness thing, and we ourselves, like you said, we can't be lazy because we see the next generation that they are opening up in the, we can't just leave it and be like, oh yeah, that's it, job done. Like, we've actively got to, like you said, open up these spaces, create safe spaces for people to talk, for people to express, for people to relax. Because again, during the times that we're in, it's hard to have that space. And that, yes, in a perfect world, that would be at home, but we don't know what people's home environments are. We don't know what sort of situation they're in. So if we can create these safe spaces online, in sort of private rooms where people can have these chats and have these open conversations. And it's about listening as well. I think, especially men, I think it's not until you hear somebody else voice it that that kind of opens up you a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I can resonate with that a little bit. I get that. Like, oh yeah, I get that as well. I'm exactly the same. And I think it's very important that we continue these conversations, and people who are watching or whoever's watching back, like within our homes, let's start to take ourselves out of the comfort zone. Because again, parents or grandparents or older siblings, let's not challenge the household, but let's bring everybody together and make it a fun thing. It doesn't have to be like a daunting, like we're sitting here and it's all like serious and this is a serious chat. Just make it a free space. And I think it's hard, and I'm not going to sit here and kid and be like, yeah, your parents are, you can tell your parents whatever and they're going to say it's non-judgmental, but your parents are your parents and they're always going to have your best interest at heart, whether you see it that way or not, or whether you agree with it or not. But I think as parents, again, that's where your challenge comes in, that if you really want to know, you have to be open. You have to be open to things you might not want to hear, which might not be against you. It might just be like, it might surprise you the way that your child thinks, but at least you now have an understanding of, okay, I can see what wavelength you're on. You might even see a bit of resemblance in how you was a child, and you can better direct and better support your young people. Same goes for parents. Same goes for young kids, young adults. Don't look at your parents and think they've got it all sorted, because your parents have had to work hard. They're going through it. If you can offer support, offer the support. And if young kids if they feel like they want to speak out, maybe it should be, if you feel comfortable and confident enough to initiate these type of conversations with your family or your parents, like, do it, but make it fun. Make it into a game. Some people might think that's cheesy, whatever, but whatever works for you and your family, like, make that work. It could be everybody picks a card. Everybody has to say one thing about how they feel or one thing nice about somebody else. However it is. And then now you start to find out, okay, because as much as you live in the same house as someone and you know your mom and you know your dad, you know them in that capacity. You might not know how they specifically are in a different capacity when they're trying to open up. So I think, yeah, having that time and that space with your family to sort of be vulnerable, but not be judged, not be shut down, but to listen. I think to listen is to then to learn and to make a difference.
No, you're totally spot on there, with especially around the parents. But again, if some young people are not comfortable with speaking to their parents or don't have that relationship, etc., again, it goes back to the point of your circle. You know, have those, you know, identify those friends that you can talk to and you can speak to. It could be your football coach. It could be your youth club, youth engagement officer, whoever it may be. But have that, you know, have the right people in place. You know, like, we're living in a society where we're locked down at the moment, but we've got technology. That's one of the biggest things. Okay, actually, some people might not have. There's a lot of digital poverty, of course there is, but you can speak to people online. You can chat to your friends, open up, ask questions, and I think that is something that we want to continue to do now through the football club. There is no football right now. Football is not even on the mind of anyone right now, like, as in, other than watching the Premier League, you know, your own, whatever we used to do ourselves, like football or training, it's not happening right now. But there's other activities you can do to keep continuing to go. And when it does return, you need to be ready for when it returns. So I think that's key as well. And that's something that I probably went through when we were having the initial lockdown, March, April, May, June, July. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I was speaking to someone else about this. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to see anyone. I might as well just eat, sleep, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, and just continue that routine of unhealthiness, and brings you down, and it starts bringing you down, and it's breaking away from that mentality that I'm not looking after myself and self-care because I'm not going to see anyone else. Like, who cares about other people? Look after yourself because you want to look after yourself anyway.
Exactly.
So like my kind of message would be like, we want to continue to do these. We want to normalize these conversations. And I've already got lined up. I've got some participants, some young people in the local communities who are going to want to come on and just talk, just chat, say your piece, basically say what's going on. Because I think we always, as adults, this is my opinion, we always seem to think we know the answers for young people. Believe me, I keep saying this is my motto. No one knows what's best for young people. Young people know what's best for young people. And I know a lot of parents will listen to that and say, what are you talking about, boy? Like, I know what's best for my child, etc. But we're living in this world now, environment now, where young people are not bad people. They know what they want and what's good for them. So do and create something that they want, not what you think it's going to be good for them. And that's important. I think that's really important. So everyone says young people should talk and be open about how they're feeling. And that's right, they should. But once they do, I think the worry from a young person's perspective is what's next. What is there out there now that can support them after they've spoken? Is there enough? I don't think there's enough, and I think grassroots clubs, organizations, charities, should become more accessible, and then that's key, and I think that's my piece on the whole subject itself.
No, I completely agree. I completely and utterly agree. I think, especially when you talk about sort of like grassroots, it all plays a factor. It all plays a role, and I think where we are now and the uncertainty that a lot of us might be feeling, I think it's key to have this, because like you said, there's kids out there who don't have it, and through the things that we've been taught this, it's like you said, the whole thing should be to normalize, should be able to normalize having conversations, to normalize these things. So I think at the forefront of everything that we're sort of doing and the things that we're sort of pushing forward, because you said it earlier, and it's something that you said before, and it stuck with me. There's one thing you said about young people knowing young people, but it's the needs of a young person. And I think that's what plays a role, because we can sit here and we can say, this would be good, that would be good, but we don't sort of fall into that category. So it's not until you speak to them, you gain an understanding, you actually listen to them, and you see the behaviors that happen, that you can then start to actually, okay, this will work. Let's try this, and that will work. And the same goes for in your households, the same goes with your peers. Just creating listening and creating certain things based off the needs of what these young people have, because it's not having an outlet. There's many forms of communication, there's many forms of expressing yourself, and it doesn't just come in one form. And we can't just put everybody into one box and be like, okay, we're all going to sit here and we're all going to talk about this because this is what's going to work. And you might get two people that want to actually talk. Some people might listen, some people might not engage at all. And that's what it is. It's keeping it engaging. And I think our young people right now need to feel like people want to engage with them. They need to have that trust. They have to build that rapport. And between peer groups, between themselves, the same thing. I know within my friend circles, and we're 31, like we're having our group chat. It's always been, we always have like different conversations, but our group chat now is the energy and the tone of our group chat is completely different. It's very uplifting. One of us will just randomly ping a message in there like, yo, I'm feeling good, sending this energy your way. Hope everybody has a blessed day. It's little things like this. It's the whole checking in with your friends. again, it might seem a bit cheesy, but what does a simple text? You don't have to ring. You can text. We have, like I said, we have technology. You can WhatsApp, you can Instagram, whatever it is. Just drop a text like, "How you doing?" But actually ask, "How are you doing?" Like, "Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm going through this, but I'm blessed. Okay, I'm here if you need support." And I think that's what the thing is, that we all feel like you can feel very alone when you've got no one to speak to. You can very feel like you've got people around you, but you might not class them as people that you can speak to, because you might think, "Oh, they're going to think of me this way, or you're going to think of me that way." So whoever you can tap into, like you said, it's going to be people from all different walks of life. Doesn't have to be family, doesn't have to be friends. It could be a coach. It could be someone that you met at the youth club that you really got on with. It could be someone that you know from your football team. It could be anyone. But have that person, have that conversation, build that rapport, have that trust, and just be real, because we're all going through it. We're all going through stuff. And like you said earlier on, someone could say something that just triggers that thought and triggers that change in mindset, triggers that, you know what, I'm going to take some action right now, triggers that change from a conversation that if you wasn't open to, would never have come your way. So, yeah.
I think you're spot on, man, Jam. It's been wicked as always. I think I've definitely got the appetite, that wanting to continue this and talk about different subjects. Every time there's a new story, someone's got stabbed or someone's got killed, everyone seems to be an expert and knows what goes on and stuff. And we don't see young people. You do actually, if you're working with young people, you know they're speaking out and they're telling you what's going on, why it's going on. I think we need to start, getting young people on and getting them to kind of question us, if that makes sense. Ask us questions, and say, and grill us basically, if it needs to be. So, like, this is what's happening on the street. You guys, maybe they turn around and say, "You guys are doing football, it's not working. Maybe you need to do extra." We don't know. But I think that's how we need to look at it now. I used to always say, like, never forget why you do what you do. And you do, the work that you do is to support the needs and the betterment of those in your community. Now, if you don't understand what the community want, then what are you doing? So I think we'll continue to do these things, Jam, and these sessions. And I've got a couple of people in mind. I've already texted them over the last few days saying, would they be interested? And they said they're going to come on, etc. We could do it to Link Up. We could do it to Link Up Youth Club. We could do it through this, P2P, whatever it is, we could do it. But in regards to this, I just wanted to end on that point on the verse from the Quran I mentioned earlier, which was Muhammad Sa'ila Falatanha. Like, if someone is approaching you and speaking to you, don't turn them away. Speak to them. And if you're that person and you're going to speak to someone and they haven't spoken back to you or supported you, that doesn't also mean that they don't care. Maybe that person doesn't know how to communicate back with you as well. So don't think that I've gone to one person and they've been unable to help me or they've ignored me. I can't go to anyone else. You can, different people, or it could be that person that you've gone to is going through something themselves as well. And it's a struggle, and we're all facing this struggle together, and we can only get out of it together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, as one community.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Jam,
yeah, thank
been an honor, man.
me,
Been good as always.
Thank you.
Let's start planning, man. Let's do this on a regular.
100%. It's been good, and yeah, man. Thanks for having me a part of it, because we're here to talk, and it's time to talk. It's definitely time to talk. So
yeah. Time to talk will continue now, man. We'll bring it back. The thing is, the funny thing is, I was watching back a couple of seconds of the YouTube clip from the Time to Talk session me and you had, and the last couple of seconds or minutes they were saying that, you know what, we're going to continue to do this. We'll do this on a regular basis, etc., and that was the plan. And then how life just changes like that, and then we're back to normality again. Everyone's forgotten about Zoom and Teams and whatever. We're just out and about and doing our things, and then within a second, bang, we're back in this situation. Yeah. So I think we need to have some consistency as well in kind of doing these kind of talks and chats, and bringing different people on. I see you doing it on a regular basis, man. The inspiration kind of drew from, like, You're doing it. Doesn't matter if you've got one person listening in or you've got no one listening in live, and then you've got someone else that watches it the next day that has picked up on something in 30 seconds that might be useful for them. I think that's key. And on top of everything, I think the conversation helps us as well. I don't know about you, but it's definitely helped me when speaking about certain things.
Definitely. It's a release, isn't it? So, and it helps you understand things better. Even if you're speaking it yourself, it just helps you understand things better. So definitely, like you said, it only has to impact one person. One person can take something away from it, and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, man.
Wicked. Catch you on the next one, Jam.
Cool, man. Laters.
Take care, bro. Salam.